welcome back for episode number 72 of the weekly playback. I played a lot of games in the last week, so there's a lot to talk about. I'm not sure I'll get through all of them this week, but we'll see. I do want to mention that I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently, just slightly differently. It's not going to make a huge difference to you guys, I think. So last week when I did my weekly playback episode, I usually upload it to the page, the BGG page of the first video, the first game that I talk about. So I usually upload it to the videos page for that game. But then the designer of Zuli reached out to me and asked me if I could upload my video to his games page. And unfortunately, BGG only allows you to upload a video link once. So if it's already existing somewhere on BGG, you can't then add it to another page. So then I basically edited out just the Zuli part and created another segment, like YouTube video that I could upload just to Zuli about that segment. But it had like a very weird beginning and a weird end because it's like from the middle of a weekly playback episode. So I thought, you know what, that's actually a good idea since I'm doing these weekly playback episodes, and sometimes I actually manage to give a good explanation of a game rather than a bad one. So sometimes when it's a good one, I'm like, oh, you know, this would have been great if I could have also uploaded it to this game's video page on BGG. So I'm going to try to start each segment of a game like with a proper beginning and a proper ending. It'll all still be in this video, but I'm going to basically start recording and stop recording and so on and so forth, and just try to create segments that can be uploaded separately on BGG for that reason. But it won't change much for you guys. I mean, you might just notice a little bit of a difference in how I start and end a segment, because I am going to stop recording and start recording again, so that way I don't have like an hour-long video to try to pull out multiple segments from. So that is what is going to change going forward. Not for all the games I talk about, just for some of them really. So with that in mind, let's begin. So let's talk about After Us. After Us is a game that I picked up at UKGE this year. So it's designed by Florian Siriax and the art is done by Vincent Dutrait, and it's published by Catch Up Games, and I got mine from Hatchet Board Games UK. It's a game for 1 to 6 players. This is a deck building game and it's out in 2023. The cover you see on my edition is the limited edition UKGE edition. So all the games going forward, I believe, will have the Eiffel Tower on them, such as this rule book. So you can see that the designer, because I got the designer to sign my copy, and he wrote Sarah here like that. So After Us is a really great deck building game in which you are planets who have taken over Earth, and you just want to be like the ruling ape. So you're going to have a main board with different kinds of monkey cards, primate cards face down, and you're going to have level 1 cards and level 2 cards, and they will cost a different amount of resources. Each player is going to have their own player board. So for example, here is the pink player board, and all the player boards do have different artwork on them, which is really cool. So you will have a rage tracker down here, so you will be keeping track of rage, and each person is going to have some primate tokens, and I'll get to what those are used for in a little bit. So you are going to start with a starting hand of cards. So for example, here are the cards for the pink player. So each player is going to have cards of these tamarins that are holding your own flag. And you are going to shuffle your cards. So at the beginning of the game, you're just going to have your starting hand, and you are going to draw 4 cards, and then you are going to place these cards underneath your player board to create an assembly. And you are trying to create connections between these frames so that you can then collect the things that are in the completed frames, only the completed frames. And sometimes a card will have just a complete frame in the center of it, just like that one. So the different resources you're trying to collect are grains, which are these black tokens, fruit, which are these orange ones, and flowers, which are these blue ones. And then you also have batteries. So you're trying to collect all the different things, and you're basically getting an engine going. So based on what resources you collected, you will hopefully be able to recruit new monkeys during that phase of the game. So the game is played in 3 different phases. The first phase is assembling the tribe. So that's when you draw 4 cards from your draw deck and assemble your tribe in whichever way you choose and create those frames. And then you're going to, from the top to the bottom, left to right, collect the things from the completed frames. Sometimes you'll see that you have to pay something in order to get something. So for example, this one, you would have to pay 1 grain and 1 battery in order to get 1 point. The light bulbs are points, and the game end will trigger once someone has reached 80 points. If multiple people reach 80 points in the same round, then when that round ends, whoever has the most points will win. But the game end is triggered once someone reaches 80 points. So you're collecting the different resources so that during the second phase of the game, you can recruit new primates. So after everyone has assembled their tribe and gone from top to bottom, left to right, collecting all of their things, and you're going to be doing that simultaneously because otherwise it would take quite a bit of time while you wait for everyone to collect all their resources, then you're going to go to the second phase of the game where you're attracting new apes. So this is a phase of the game where you're going to have these tokens, and secretly you are going to select which ape you want to attract. Different apes are known for providing more of a certain kind of resource. So you are going to see on this main board that the cost of the ape is associated with its color, and then also you'll see here what they're known for giving. So like if you have a lot of flowers to spend, you can recruit this ape, and you are more likely to get points from the cards that you acquire. From this ape, you're more likely to get batteries, and batteries are really helpful for using special abilities throughout the game, which I can show you in a minute. This one is known for getting rage, and rage is very useful because you can spend any time during the round, on your turn, everyone's turn, for rage to permanently trash a card, and you want to get rid of those beginning cards. And this one is known for allowing you to repeat a frame. So that one you can go back to any completed frame and get the benefit from it again. So everyone is secretly going to select which primate they want to recruit. You don't have to recruit a primate. You can simply choose a token and get the benefit on top. So when you reveal your tokens, everyone will get the benefit that is listed on the top of the token. So this one will give 2 points, for example. This one would give 2 batteries. This one would allow you to repeat a frame, and this one would allow you to collect 2 rage. Then you can purchase the new ape, the new primate. And then additionally, you can spend 2 identical resources of any kind in order to take the benefit from one of your neighbors, just one. So for example, if on one side I had a neighbor who put out this token, and on the other side I had a neighbor who put out this token, I could spend 2 of any resources in order to either get this benefit or this benefit. Simply the benefit, you cannot recruit that ape. So after everyone has paid to recruit a new ape, you can look at the card, because they're all face down on the main board. You can look at the card of the ape you're recruiting and then put it on the top of your draw pile. And then the cards that you had in your assembly will then at that point go to your discard. They're not going to go to your discard before you recruit a new ape, because in case you get this benefit or take that benefit from a neighbor by paying 2 resources, you will get to then redo a frame, like collect resources again from a frame that was in your assembly. So at that point, after everyone has recruited new apes, you're going to discard the cards and draw 4 new cards. There are special tiles in this game that allow you to spend batteries to get like a bonus of some kind, like a bonus action or something. So for example, this one, you can spend 4 batteries in phase 1, and they'll indicate which phase that you can use these on. So you can spend 4 batteries in order to draw a 5th card to place into your assembly line. So that's really good. So there's a bunch of different ones. You're going to have 3 of these available during the game, and these all cost batteries. So that's what you're going to be using batteries for. Like this one, for example, you can use at any time. You can spend 5 batteries in order to get 5 points. So again, the game end will trigger once someone reaches 80 points, and if multiple people reached 80 points at the same time, then whoever has the most points at the end of that round will win. It is a really fantastic game. It plays very quickly, so it's not like a deck building game that's going to take you a very long time. Once everyone gets the hang of it, everyone does their own thing in their own time. So once you assemble your primate tribe, then you just go through from top to bottom, left to right, just collecting all the things focus from your completed frames. You don't really need to pay attention to what anyone else is doing. You know, hopefully everyone follows the honor system and no one cheats, you know, because points start to accumulate really quickly, especially if you get the primate that is known for giving points. So for example, let me find the primate that's known for giving points. So here's one. So as you can see, this card, on this card, this is a level 2 card of the primate known for giving points. You can spend 1 battery here to get 2 points. And then on the bottom, you can see if you have 3 different kinds of primates in your assembly, you can get a point. If you see that symbol, you don't need to give up anything in order to get the thing that is to the right of it. So like, for example, if I connected these two, I would not need to give up anything in order to collect those points. So the minus symbol means that it's basically free. So yeah, it's a really cool game. You're just trying to form really good connections. The level 2 primates are obviously better because they're going to have 3 things on each side. So if you look at the beginning primates, like for example, there's only 1 connection here and you're not going to see too much stuff in the middle. So obviously you want to upgrade your primates as time goes on. I did forget to mention that if you use 4 rage in order to permanently trash one of your cards, each card has a rage bonus in the corner. So when you trash it, you get to immediately collect the rage bonus. So that's pretty nice as well. So I think I went through the entire game. It's a really easy game to learn and it's a really fun game to play. I highly recommend it. I'm really glad I picked this up at UKGE. It was the #1 game on my wish list when I was at UKGE. So it was a limited edition copy, so I had to wait in line for it, and I am really glad that I did. So I highly recommend this game if you like deck building games, if you like games that play quickly, where there's not a lot of downtime, where you don't have to wait for other people to take their turns. Highly recommend this game, and the artwork is just fantastic. I know I didn't show you guys all of the apes, but the artwork is done by Vincent Dutray. It's just really stunning artwork. It's just a really, really fun game to play, and I highly recommend it. So yeah, so check out After Us. Let's talk about fairies and magical creatures. So this game is currently on Kickstarter, and I played a 3-player game of this the other day. I am going to be shooting a 1-minute overview video of this. You might even see it before you see this segment. So yeah, so Fairies and Magical Creatures is a game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Glenn Drover, and the art is done by Annie Stagg, and it's published by Forbidden Games. This is an area control, deck building, and hand management, open drafting, yeah, kind of game. So basically you are, first of all, this game has absolutely stunning artwork. I just have to show you some of the cards. Yeah, let me show you some of the cards because the artwork is just absolutely stunning. I absolutely love it. Like, out of all the Forbidden Games I have with Annie Stagg's artwork in it, this is by far my favorite. And I didn't think that anything could top, like, well, both Raccoon Tycoon and Lizard Wizard have amazing art, and I wasn't sure that anything could top those, but this definitely does top both of them for me. Like, absolutely just stunning, stunning artwork. So in this game, you are going to have 1 main board, and the main board is going to have certain areas on it. So let me just show you the main board. And again, just keep in mind that this is a prototype edition, so obviously the production copy is going to be much better. The board has the different creature types. So you have like beast, you have nature, fae, trolls, and earth, and then the available actions to take. So you are going to be placing your own like influence cubes in the different area when you complete a certain action, which is called gain trust. But I will get to all of that in a minute. Then each player is going to have their own player board on which you are going to be placing different tiles. So this bag here is filled with different kinds of garden tiles. So on one side you will have path tiles, which you also need, and then on the other side you will have the garden. So each player starts the game with a hand of 4 cards. So each player starts with the same 4 cards, and on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to use your pawn to indicate on this, when you're the active player, you're going to use your pawn to indicate on this board which main action you want to take. The active player always gets to play a card from their hand either before or after the main action. So the different actions are to gain trust, which is when you'll put a cube in one of these areas, and the first person to place 10 cubes in a certain area will get the home tile associated with that creature. creature. So there are different types of creatures, again. So like you have the trolls, you have the fae, and so on. So each one has a home tile associated with it. And you want to get these home tiles to place in your own board, because any garden tiles that are connected orthogonally adjacent to this home tile will score double. And I will get to the scoring in a minute. This action, Build Garden, you get to take one of the garden tiles that is on display and add it to your garden. If you're adding a path tile, the very first path tile you add must be adjacent to one of the edges of the board, and subsequent path tiles have to be adjacent by at least one edge to a previously placed path tile. And if you want your garden tiles to score, you need to have at least one side adjacent to a path tile. So that's why having path tiles is really important, because if you want to score them, you need to have them adjacent. If you want to score the garden tiles, they have to be adjacent to path tiles. Befriend a fairy, that's when you get to draft a new card from the cards on display. So actually, sorry, I played a 4-player game of this. So in a 4-player game, there are 5 cards on display, so you get to draft a card and then everyone else will get to draft a card. So everyone is following the action of the active player, but I'll talk about that in a minute. The next action is Helping Hand, where you actually get to play a card from your hand. And then finally, Call Fairies. This will allow you to, optionally, if you want to, discard 1 card from your hand and then draw up to 5 cards. So the active player is always going to place their pawn on which action they want, and they can do that action plus play a card from their hand either before or after the main action. Then all the other players follow the action that the active player took. However, they do not get to play a card, unless of course it's the play a card action, in which case they'll get to play 1 card, but the active player would play 2 cards because they always get to play a card when they are the active player. So that's how the game goes. Whenever you are the active player, you're going to place your pawn on one of those actions, and then everyone else will follow after you've done that. So everyone is doing the same actions throughout the game, but as the active player, you have the chance of playing a card, which can affect what happens in the game. So you're placing cubes in the various areas of this board in order to get those home tiles I talked about, which will allow you to score your garden tiles doubly. But also, if you have the most cubes in a certain area at the end of the game, you will score 1 point for all the cubes in that area, not just the ones of your color. And then the second highest player in a certain region will score 1 point for only the cubes of their color. So it is very much an area influence game as well, where you want to have the highest number of cubes in a certain location. Now you'll see here that there are 5 locations. So in the 4-player game I played, each of us was just going for 1 location so that we could get the home tile of that location in the beginning of the game, because again, the first player who gets 10 cubes in a certain location will get the home tile, and any gardens that are connected to the home tile with at least 1 side orthogonally adjacent, those garden tiles will score double. So then after we all got a home tile, there was 1 spot remaining. So then we all just started like gunning for that spot as well so that we could get a second home tile. But of course it was a person who placed 10 cubes there first to get that tile. But there was like a lot of cards that would allow you to like manipulate cubes. Like there are cards that would allow you to move cubes from like a certain area into another region, or just get rid of them completely and give them back to the player. So there is a lot going on in this game. It's really good. It's a very family level game, but still with enough strategy that if you are a seasoned gamer, you will still really enjoy this game. There are a variety of cards with different kinds of actions. Some of them will let you score points as the game is progressing when you play them. So for example, one of them said that you could score points for, like this one, score 2 victory points per nature card in your hand. So if you played this card and you had nature cards in your hand, you get to immediately score 2 victory points. And the way the points are scored, you are actually going to see a point tracker along the side. So at the top it goes from 1 to 10, and on the side it goes 10, 20, 30, 40, so on. So you are just going to find where your pawn should go, and your pawn will actually go right on your board to indicate what your score is as the game is progressing. There are several triggers for game end. So the game end triggers are when all 5 fairy homes have been taken and placed in a garden, when there are not enough garden tiles to create a full tile offer, when one player has placed all of their kinship tokens, which are those cubes, and they have none left in their supply, or when all cards have been taken from the deck and there are not enough left to create a full card offer. When this happens, you will continue the current turn until all players have performed the current action, and then you will go to game end scoring. So game end scoring, again, you will score for the kinship tokens. If you have the most in a certain area, you will get the points for all of the tokens in that area. If you have the second most, then you'll score 1 victory point for each token of your own color. And then for gardens, you will score 1 victory point per square of a garden tile that is connected to a path tile. So you have to have at least one adjacent side to a path tile, and you will score 1 victory point per square. And then if you're not connected to any path tiles, you will score 0 for that garden tile. And then any plant tiles that are connected to a fairy home tile will score double. And then whoever has the most points will win. Path tiles don't score anything. So it's a really family-friendly game, but with enough strategy that I think seasoned gamers will also enjoy this. I will say that in the 5-player game that I played of this, it seemed inevitable that the game end trigger would be when someone collects the 5th home tile, because there's 4 of us, and there's 5 home tiles, and after each one of us has collected 1 home tile each, then there's one that we're all gunning for, and I think it just seems inevitable that that will be the game end trigger. I'm really curious to see if other people have played this at a 4-player count, whether there was another game end trigger. Maybe people would want to prolong the game and not necessarily go for the home tile so that they can prolong it and maybe add more to their garden. I don't know. I'm curious to see how other people have played this game and what their game end trigger was. So yeah, so that is Fairies and Magical Creatures, and you can find that on Kickstarter right now. Let's talk about Ra. This new edition of Ra came out this year in 2023. It is designed by Rainer Knizia. The art is done by Ian O'Toole for this edition, and it is published by 25th Century Games. This game is for 2 to 5 players. This is an auction bidding game. So in this game, you are going to be pushing your luck and bidding for various tiles. So it is an absolutely stunning game. I have the retail version of the game, which does come with some really nice wooden components. So at the top of, not the top, the main. So the main board is going to be this auction board, and you are going to have like an auction kind of tracker on it. And I'll explain in a minute how that works. And you are going to have 1 auction tile, one bidding tile in here. So in a 2-player game, I believe you start with number 1 over there, but I could be wrong. I played this as a 2-player game, but do not exactly remember, but I believe it was a number 1 tile here, and I'll explain what this means. So you're going to start with your auction, your raw tracker on the player count. So in a 2-player game, you start here. And anytime a raw tile is drawn, which triggers an action, or anytime someone wants to, triggers an auction, pardon me. So anytime a raw tile is drawn, which triggers an auction, or someone chooses to take the auction action, then this is going to advance. And when it reaches the end, then the round will end and you'll start a new round. There are 3 rounds in this game. So each player has their own player board, and you are going to be placing the tiles you collect along the board, and you're going to have your own bidding tokens, which are these things. So each player will have different bidding markers with different numbers on them in this game when you start the game. And so you, on your turn as the active player, you're going to draw out 1 tile at a time and then place it for offer on this board. And then you, so you're going to draw 1 tile, and then that will be placed on offer. If you draw a raw tile, an auction is triggered. And then starting with the player who did not draw it, but the next player, they get to choose whether or not they want to bid on it. And if everyone passes, then the tiles get discarded. So different kinds of tiles will allow you to score in different ways. And you're going to just basically be placing all of the different tiles along your board on different sections, and the tiles to the right of your board, so on this side, they score at the end of a round, but then they're removed at the end of the round. The tiles on the left side of your board stay there from round to round, and they do score at the end of each round, but they accumulate, so they stay there from round to round, which is nice. But the tiles on the right side, they do not stay there. So the tiles on the right side include like these tiles, which are god tiles. God tiles you can use in order to exchange and get rid of and get a tile from the auction row without actually having to bid on it. So those are nice. So yeah, there's just different kinds of tiles here. There's like these water, these flood tiles. Those will also disappear, but you do need flood tiles in order to score Nile tiles. If you don't have any flood tiles, you can't score your Nile tiles. So there's a bunch of different kinds of tiles in this game. If this is a raw tile, so if this is drawn, that's when the auction tracker advances and you get closer to round end. So basically you are going to, if you're bidding, you're going to take one of your bidding markers from your board and use that to bid. So it's not like you can just bid anything. You have these numbers that are on your bidding markers that you are using to bid. And if you win an auction, you replace your bidding marker with the one that is here. So like, for example, in the very first round of the game, the first player to bid and win an auction is going to then have a 1 for the next round. So lower bidding power in a subsequent round. And then you're going to place this upside down on your own player board, because once all your bidding markers are upside down, you can no longer bid. So then this one would then be the one here. And then the next person who wins an auction would take this one and place that upside down on their board and place the one that they won the auction with on this board. It's very interesting because at the end of the game, the person who has the highest total number with their bidding markers will also win a certain number of points. So it's a very interesting, quick playing auction game in which, you know, you're just trying to collect different kinds of tiles, but it's also very much a push your luck game. You don't know if you want to wait or not. So let me just read to you the available actions. So on your turn, when it's your turn, the available actions are to either draw a tile during the draw a tile action. So you can draw a tile and place it onto the board. Of course, if it's a raw, then that triggers an auction. You can invoke raw as your action, which means I invoke raw, so you would not draw a tile from the bag. In this case, maybe there's already tiles there that you want to bid on, so you don't feel you need to draw a tile, because you might get a negative tile. You may even get a disaster tile. So there are disaster tiles which make you take away tiles from your own player board. So if you won that auction and there were certain tiles you wanted, but there was also a disaster tile, you may even have to get rid of some tiles that you don't want to get rid of. So there's that, that is where the push your luck element comes in, because you don't know if you want to stop sometimes, or if you want to try pushing your luck and hope that you get another good tile instead of a disaster tile. So you can invoke raw as one of your actions, or you can spend a god tile. So those god tiles I talked about will allow you to discard the god tile and then take a tile from the auction row instead and just immediately add it to your player board. God tiles that you do not spend, I believe, are worth 2 points. So you're going to be keeping track of score as, you know, the game progresses. So you will score certain tiles at the end of each round again, but the tiles on the right side of your board will then be discarded and the tiles on the left side of your board will remain. And there's like different ways in which they score. Like some of them are set collections, some of them, you know, you want to have different tiles of a certain kind, and so on. So the way you keep track of your points as you go on is with these point markers, and you keep them upside down so no one knows what your score is. And yeah, so that's basically Raw. It is a really fun game. I played it at 2 players. There were no additional rules at 2 players. You just have to make sure you use the right side of the board and place the marker at the right side, at the right place, and so on. And just, yeah, make sure you just get the right bidding cubes that you have, bidding tiles. So yeah, so it works really well at 2 players as well. I played it at a 2-player count, and I'm looking forward to playing it at a higher player count. Really great auction game. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something that is quick and fun. And yeah, this was pretty quick, so definitely check out Raw. Some other games that I played recently that I don't have in my possession, so I'll talk about them only briefly. The first of which is Medici. So I guess since I just talked about Raw, I'll talk about Medici, which is another Rainer Knizia game, but it's an older game. So Medici came out in 1995, and it's designed by Rainer Knizia, and there's several different artists, and it looks like it was published by Amigo Games. So this is a game for 2 to 6 players. It's an auction game. And a push your luck game. It's interesting. So basically the active player is going to have a certain number of cards, and they're going to reveal up to 3 cards. Those cards belong to different categories around the board. So there's like cloth, there's spices, there's grains, there's dye and fur, and I believe that's it. I think that's it. And so you're going to have different cards of values 0 through 5, and then there are some gold coins as well. So you might get a gold coin card, which is worth like 10, a value of 10. So basically you as the active player are going to reveal up to 3 cards. So you can reveal 1 and then decide you want to start the auction, or you can reveal 2 and decide you want to start the auction, or reveal 3. Each player has boats, a boat that has a number of 5 slots on it. So you can hold up to 5 cards on your own player boat. I believe it's 5. Let me just double check. I can't remember if it's 5. I think it's 5. So you are going to start the auction once, yes, it's 5. So let's suppose you draw 3 cards and you decide you're going to, start the auction, because you have to at that point. So then the next player in turn order is the person who gets to bid first. You get to bid once. If you're outbid, then too bad. And then if no one bids on it, those cards get discarded, which could be problematic because there's only a certain number of cards. So not everyone might get to fill their ship in that case. And let's suppose you already had 3 cards in your ship and you're the active player, then if you want to bid, you're obviously not going to draw a 3rd card because you won't be able to bid on it then, because you don't have room then. So you would stop at 2. There is a chance where you might end up with a card that's just remaining and you just have to take it because, that happened to me several times where I had 4 cards in my ship and someone initiated an auction and I didn't win it. And then I just had to take like whatever card remained. I would just flip over a card, but in my case, it ended up being good cards, which worked out. So after the ships are filled or there's no more cards to draw, then everyone is going to count up the value that is on their ship, the total number, and then you advance around the score tracker the amount that you have. If you have the highest number, you get to advance a certain number of spaces. If you have the second highest number, you get to advance a certain number of spaces. I don't think it's the value of what you have, if I remember correctly. And then there's also the individual sections of the board where you have your own little markers and you're going to advance based on which types of goods you have in your ship. So let's suppose I have 2 cards, which are spices. I would advance my token 2 spaces, 2 rings up in the spice section of the main board. So you're also trying to advance in these sections of the main board, because if you have the highest amount of a certain type throughout the rounds, then you will get a certain number of points again. And then at the end of the game, if you reach the inner 2 circles or 3 circles, you'll get a certain number of points as well. So round to round, you're trying to pay attention to the kinds of cards you get, because you also want to advance in those various rings on the main board, but you also have to be mindful of the numbers you're getting and what you're bidding. So again, when you bid something, you're actually decreasing the amount of money points that you have around the main board. So you don't want to bid too high and spend all your money, but you do want to bid enough that you get the cards you want. It's a really fast playing game. It plays only over 3 rounds, super quick. I kind of wish it lasted longer. It was a very quick game, but fun. It's a fun auction game. It seemed kind of like it seemed like a much simpler version of Ra in some ways, so I can see how Ra came after this game. So Medici is a much more simpler auction game for Reigner Knizia, and then you have Ra, which is a little bit more involved. So yeah, it was nice to play Medici. It was nice to play a much older game of Reigner Knizia's, but I think I will stick with Ra. So yeah, so I played Medici, which was really good. Another game I played recently is sorry, someone started calling me and that actually interrupted my video. So another game I played recently is My Shelfie. My Shelfie is like a more, it's like a harder Connect 4. So My Shelfie is a 2022 game designed by Phil Walker Harding and Matthew Dunstan, and it's published by Cranio Creations and Lucky Duck Games. The art is done by Shannon Grossenbacher and Sarah Valentino, and it's for 2 to 4 players. So you're going to have a main board with a bunch of different tiles on it, and on your turn you can take up to, I believe, is it 2 or 3 tiles? I can't remember. But each tile you take has to be adjacent to another tile that you're taking. Like they all have to be basically in a row or a column when you're taking them, but they all have to have one side that is free. They cannot be completely enclosed. So you're trying to collect tiles of different colors to complete different objectives, basically. So each person is going to have a secret objective card, which is going to show you where in your like shelf you want the different kinds of tiles, and plus there's open objective cards for in-game and end of game as well. I believe that there were end of game, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so there's different objective. No, I think they were all in game. So like as soon as you complete them, you could take the points, I believe. So the first player to complete something would get like 8 points, the second player would get 6, and then the next player would get 4, I believe. So yeah, so there's just open objective cards for you to complete, and then your own personal objective, which you will reveal at the end of the game and show everyone that you completed it. And if you completed all 6 tiles by having them in the correct locations, you will get, I believe it was 12 points, and so on. So yeah, it's a very easy game. It's not one I feel a need to add to my collection, but I'm glad I got to play it. It was a game that I had considered picking up at UKGE, but my friend owns it, so I'm glad I didn't pick it up. It was a nice, pleasant game, but not one I feel I need to add to my collection. But you know, it's good to just have played it once, and I wouldn't mind playing it again if my friends wanted to play it again. But yeah, it's like Connect 4, and it's just like fun with cute little tiles and stuff and cutesy little artwork. But yeah, it's nothing super strategic, but it can be a little bit thinky in how you're picking tiles and adding them to your thing, because when you add them to your shelf, you can only add them in one column. So that does make it a little bit trickier, but not overly tricky, to be honest. So yeah, so I played my Shelfie. Another game I played recently is Trailblazers by Ryan Courtney. So Trailblazers is a 2023 game designed by Ryan Courtney. The art is done by Seth Lucas, and it's published by Bitewing Games, and it's for 1 to 8 players. I think it's up to 8 players if you have an expansion. You're going to have 3 different kinds of cards. One which is like the base card for walking trails, bike trails. Another which is the base trail for so I think one is for walking, one is for biking, and one is for boating, if I remember correctly. So you'll have 3 different kinds of trails, yes. So hiking, cycling, and river. So you'll have brown, blue, and red. And on your turn, so everyone's going to be dealt 8 little cards, and based on the 8 cards, you're going to look at them and decide which of the squares you want to place first. So the game is played over 4 rounds, and in the first 3 rounds, at the beginning of the round, when you're dealt 8 cards, you're always going to decide which square you want to place. And then once you place that home square, you're trying to connect cards to it and create like loops, like trails that connect, that start at it and end at it, because those are going to get scored. You're going to score for like the features on each trail that connects to the home tile that you place, trail, home thing, whatever I don't know what they're called. So yeah, so terrible explanation, I know. So like, let's suppose, and it's a pick and pass game. So you're going to pick 2 cards, connect it to your home thing, and then pass the cards, and then you'll take 2 cards again and pass, and so on. When there's 2 cards left over, you're going to discard them, and then you'll start with the next batch of 8 cards. And then when you have the next batch of 8 cards, you're going to decide, okay, which of the other big squares you want to place and try to connect to. The thing is, once you place a big square, you have to decide at the beginning of the round which big square you want to place, the brown one, the blue one, or the red one, but you don't necessarily need to place your cards connecting to just that square. So at the beginning of a round, you're going to look at the cards you have, which determines which big square you're going to put out, but you don't necessarily need to play your cards connecting to that big square in subsequent rounds. So at the 3rd round, you're going to be putting out your 3rd big square, and every square you put out has to connect orthogonally adjacent to at least one other tile that's like a card that's already been placed. And then you'll have a 4th round, so there's no big square to put out in the 4th round, but you'll still have 8 cards dealt to you, and you're still going to do the pick and pass thing and end up playing 6 cards. So that's a chance for you to kind of tie up any loose ends. So at the end of the game, you're scoring your trails that like start with their home trail base thing of the same color and that loop back, and so you'll score for each feature on those. And then there's like some like in-game and end-of-game cards that you're also trying to meet the objectives. So like, for example, one of the objectives in the game I played was that each of your home base tile thingies needs to be completely surrounded, like 2 of them need to be completely surrounded, so I scored for that one. Another one said that I had to have 3 trails connecting to it, like full complete connections, but I did not complete that one. So there's different kinds of objectives. So you'll, try to score for those objectives as well, in game and end of game. And then there's also at the end of the game, you're also going to score for animals that are on your trail. So there's like different animals. I think that was actually one of the objectives maybe, or was that something that you do in every game? I can't remember, but there's cute little animals on the trails as well. And we scored for those as well in the game that I played. It seems like a really nice game, and I want to pick up just the very base version, which comes in this cute little container, and the cards are apparently waterproof, but I do want to pick up just the very basic base game of it, just so I can play it solo, just because I thought it was really cute, and just really, just connecting those trails and stuff is just so much fun. And then I really like the colors and like the artwork and how it all looked in the end. I thought it was really nice. So I actually would like to pick up the the base game of this. So let's move on. So some other games that I played recently again are Zuli. I've now gotten in 5 total plays of Zuli. I think my highest score so far is 107. I played Land vs. Sea again, which is like this 2 or 3 player game, tile placement game, which is pretty fun. And then I played So Clover again recently. So let's move on to games that I am backing. So currently I'm still backing Witchcraft on GameFound. So let's see how much time this has left. So Witchcraft has 16 days left, and it's currently raised 41,177 euros. I did realize that 25th Century Games published their distributed their other one-player game, which is like Witchcraft, but Witchcraft apparently has more going on in it, but the other game that they had published was Resist. So if you can't back it, pretty sure that probably 25th Century Games will have the rights to publish and distribute Witchcraft as well. So I may actually even end up canceling my pledge based on that knowledge. I don't know yet. I'll see if there's any benefit, like real benefit to me just keeping my pledge or not, because then in this case I also have to pay for shipping, so I may actually cancel it. I'll see about that. I don't know yet. And then of course I'm backing the Loch Lomond game, the Monsters of Loch Lomond, in order to get my production copy of that. And then, oh yeah, so I am backing something new. I'm backing Thiefdom. So this game looks really good. It's got 11 days to go. I have not played the other game by this designer. So he is the designer of some other game which was hugely popular apparently, which I do not even know the name of right now. So Thiefdom looks really cool. It's like a pick up and deliver game and the artwork is done by the Micho. It just looks like a lot of fun. It looks like something I would really enjoy. So I should see whether there actually are any Kickstarter exclusives or whether I should just wait until it comes to retail, because money is very tight right now. So maybe I will look into that and see whether I should back it or not. Because if there are no Kickstarter exclusives, then maybe I'll just wait until it comes to retail. So yeah, I'll need to look into that. And then I'm backing Fairies and Magical Creatures at $1 in order to get my production copy of that. So let's move on to games that I have received and or bought. So the first one I will show is, so I already showed Faeries, which is a game I received recently that I'm covering for its Kickstarter. So you've already seen that, so I'm not going to show that again. So let me show this game, DorfRomantik, the board game. So I've never played the video game. So this is designed by Lukas, Zach, and Michael Palm, and it's published by Pegasus Spiel, and it's for 1 to 6 players. Yeah, so this is a tile placement game. So it says a cooperative tile placement game in which you are, I guess, village romantics. So you're building up a village. It comes with this campaign sheet. So it comes with multiple campaign sheets. I don't know if each player gets one or you all just share one, and then it comes with these. I think these are scoring sheets. And then the box looks like this. There's tiles that you punch out. There's a bunch of different like feature tokens and stuff. And then these boxes that you'll be opening up as the game progresses that have either cards, those tokens in them, or tiles in them. So the reason I got this was because I read that it's a really good, not read, but a different content creator said it's a really good game to play solo. And multiple people have said that. Like multiple people have said that they actually prefer playing this as a solo game. And it seems like it's a really easy game to play solo. So that's why I got it. So it doesn't seem like it takes too much setup or too much space. So I thought it would be really fun to play this solo. So I am going to hopefully find the time to do that. Another game that arrived recently, so now I'll get into review copies. So this is the Princes of Florence. So this is a game designed by Wolfgang Kramer, Richard Ulrich, and Jens Christopher Ulrich, and it's illustrated by Lukas Siegmann. And this edition is published by WizKids, and it is for 1 to 5 players. The original edition of this came out, I believe, in the year 2000. So this is a new edition from WizKids. So here is the rule book, and then it comes with these different player boards, and there's a male on one side and a female on the other side for each of these, which is nice. And then these village boards, they all look pretty much the same. They are double-sided, so one side is a bit bigger. Then you have this main board. And then just a bunch of different cards and tiles and stuff. So let me just show you some of these big cards first. So like, I believe that these are some expansion cards or something, but there's like different characters. I sleeved them because I felt like the card quality was not that great, but also I do enjoy Wolfgang Kramer games, so I was like, you know, I'll probably end up enjoying this, so I might as well just sleeve the cards. So these cards are not like super exciting to look at. There's just a bunch of text on them, so I'll put those ones away. It does have this one token, this fleur-de-lis, but let me just show you the other cards, which are nicer to look at. So these cards that are blue on the back are different character cards in the artwork. I just really love this card. It's like the astronomer, just really love that. So yeah, I really like the artwork on these cards. They're really nice. Yeah, and then there are still more cards to go. There's like a bunch of solo cards as well, and I doubt that I would play a game like this solo, but there are a ton of them. Cards. And then, as I mentioned, there are a bunch of different tiles and stuff. Let me just show you some player pieces. So player pieces like look like this. So each person gets a pawn and then like a token and then like a scorekeeping thing. And then there's like a bunch of different tiles. So I don't know how this game plays, so I cannot speak about that. And there's this. And then there is these player screens as well. So there are player screens. And then there are player aids as well. So yeah, so this looks really good. I'm really looking forward to playing this. As you guys know, I really enjoyed Rebuilding Seattle from WizKids, and I know that it's, you know, it's just the same publisher, not the same designer, but I'm hoping that I will enjoy this. This has really good reviews on BGG, I think. So, and this is just a new edition of it, so I think I'll enjoy it. I really do like Wolfgang Kramer games, so I think I'll enjoy this. So I'm looking forward to playing that. Another game that I'm not going to show in detail too much is Kavango, because I'll be covering this for its Kickstarter. So this is a game I picked up at UKGE. So it says, become a conservation expert and build a thriving nature reserve. So this is designed and illustrated by Matt Brown, and it's created by Matt Brown and Zara Reed. So this is, again, coming to Kickstarter soon. It's for 1 to 5 players. It does not have a rulebook. I need to print that out, but here is one board. And then each player board looks really cool. Like here is the purple one. So the player boards are pretty big. Like you're going to be adding cards to your own player board. I mean, I really like the design of that. It's got like little flamingos and birds and stuff. It's pretty cool. I really like this. So each person has a player board, like this one. They're all different, in fact. So check this one out. This one has elephants. Oh, that is so beautiful. I love it. I really, really love this. And then there's the different kinds of things on the top. So it says like habitat protection, poaching protection, and then different kinds of awards and stuff. This looks really good. So I saw this being demoed at UKGE. I did not demo it. I did not have a chance, but I just basically told them that I would love to cover it for their Kickstarter. So they were kind enough to agree. Oh, look at this one with the zebras. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you all of them. I wasn't planning on it, but now I feel like I have to because these are just so cool. Oh my God, ostriches, wow. Okay, so I've shown you that one. I think the blue one was the zebras. Oh no, I don't think I showed you the blue one yet. This one just looks like it's got those like antelope looking thingies there and some like birds and stuff. So I've shown you this one. Okay, did I show you the green one was the elephants? Yes. Okay, so I'll show you the purple one again because I think I didn't show you that. Did I show you the purple one? Yeah, with the birds. Oh yeah. Wow, these look so nice. Oh my God. Okay, and then there's like different like player pieces in the different colors. And then let me just show you some of the cards because those are beautiful. So I'll show you some of the animal cards because those are really nice. I won't show you all the cards. So yeah, so check out these animal cards. They are just wonderful, and they like all state a fact about the animal at the bottom. Just really beautiful animals. Just really, really love this. I know that I haven't played it yet, but I already love it. So yeah, so I'm just like in love with the look of this game. It's just, yeah, and also because you guys know I'm designing a game about rescuing elephants. Of course, it's not going to be like this. My game is about Asian elephants, rescuing Asian elephants. But yeah, it's just nice, you know, whenever you see a game about wildlife, like how can anyone not love a game about wildlife? Like, I just think animals are just so freaking amazing. And so yeah, any game about wildlife like has me hooked, basically. So another game I received recently, so this was part of my UKG haul as well. So like, as I mentioned in one of my videos, that I was having some games shipped to me because I could not bring all of them back. So Kavango was a part of that shipment. Another game that was a part of that shipment is Distilled, a spirited strategy game. So this is a review copy I picked up at UKGE. It's designed by Dave Beck and the art is done by Eric Evanson, and it's published by Paverson Games. I actually did demo a game of theirs that will be hitting Kickstarter at the end of the year called Luthier, which I'll talk about at some point. I did take photos. It was a very basic prototype, but I enjoyed my play of it. And I think that will be a very good game once it comes out. So in this game, when you punch it, you have to save the punch boards to put at the bottom of the box. So it comes with a first taste guide, which is basically a guide for your first play, and then the main rule book. And then you are going to have your player boards first on the top. So these look pretty cool. So, I mean, yeah, they are really, really cool. So I don't drink, as I've mentioned many times, but I just really love the look of this game. So I think that the designer was like, when I asked him for a review copy, like he wasn't sure if I'd want a review copy because I think it's pretty well known that I'm Muslim and I don't drink. You know, it's against my religion, but there are Muslims who do drink, but I personally choose not to, and I've never had a sip of alcohol. So I think sometimes people are a little bit hesitant about whether I would want to play a game about drinking, but I've played multiple games about drinking. Like, I think one of the best racing games out there is the Belgian Beers race. So yeah, I do play games about drinking. I just don't drink. So yeah, I think he was a little bit surprised, but I did want this game because I'd heard a lot about it. So yeah, so you'll see that the first insert hat is like that, and I just took this out, and the boards go on top, and you have like different rewards, award tiles and stuff, and then some more individual player boards. These are dual layered. They are quite nice. I don't know what they are. Then when you take this out, you have this. I think that there's probably an expansion or something that I don't have because there are some empty slots here, but you have like these different tiles that have like different kinds of alcohol, and the artwork, the individual artwork for them is pretty cool. Like, so for example, like look at this one, Kachuka or whatever. So they all have like individual artwork, which is pretty cool. And you also have your player tokens, your player pieces in here, which are really nice. So they are all in different shapes and colors. So those are really nice, and they're screen printed. So this, the inserts are just really nice and absolutely necessary. Like, it would be a pain if a game like this, I think, did not have inserts. Yeah. And then you have the main shelf board. And then at the bottom, you have a bunch of different cards and stuff. And then below that is where you put the punch boards. So you have like a bunch of different ingredient cards. These are not shuffled, of course. So you're just gonna see the same cards over and over. There's like item cards. There are flavors. And there are these. I don't know what these are. These are really nice. These cards look really nice. I don't know if they're like player aids or what they are, but all of these cards look really nice. There's like way too many of them to be player aids though. Like, there's a lot of these for them to be player aids. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, there's a lot. I don't know what they are. Well, here's some player aids. Okay, so I don't know what the top cards are. Like I said, I haven't played this yet. And then there's some gold cards and like other stuff like that. So yeah, so this looks really good. I'm really looking forward to checking this out. Now let me see if I can just remember how to put everything back. So yeah, so that was another recent arrival that I had picked up at UKGE but needed to have shipped to me. So really excited to give this a go at some time. I think my new gaming friends would probably like it since they are into even making their own beer and stuff like that. So they would probably enjoy this game. So let me see what is left. I do have some other games that I probably could have shown you, but I think I'll just save them until next time, just because, you know, there's a lot to show and stuff. So let me just move on to the next part of the video in which we will talk about updates. So let's talk about updates. So the first one is my friendly local game store is soon going to be the largest friendly local game store in America. So Millennium Games in Rochester is upgrading to a much bigger space, which is super exciting. So I count Millennium Games as my friendly local game store. I'm there a lot. So yeah, so they're upgrading to a much bigger space, and they are going to have the largest square footage of any game store in America. So that is really exciting. So I think that means that they're doing really well, which is fantastic. So I hope that they keep it up, and I hope that moving to a much bigger space doesn't impact them negatively in any way. So that is very exciting. Some more exciting news. I am on the committee that is creating a new convention in upstate New York. It is called FLGCon, Finger Lakes Area Gaming Convention. That is going to be the first week of November, so mark your calendars. We are really like coming along. We've got the space booked and everything. So soon you will see a flyer. We've like been finalizing our logo. Like I said, we have a space booked. I'm going to be reaching out to publishers to see if I can get like maybe game donations for the game library and stuff. It's going to start out as a small con. It'll be limited to around 200 people, but we're hoping it'll grow throughout the years. So yeah, so super excited to be involved with FLGCon. So that's really exciting. So moving on. So recently I said I was not going to waste, on any time talking about this on Twitter, but now I feel like I have to. So as you guys know, that there was like all this controversy involving Quackalope a few weeks ago. So this was, I think, before UKGE happened. So it was like at the end of May, there was all that controversy about him having, sent emails, which to many, including me, came across as extortion, basically saying like, hey, we shot these videos. If you pay us $7,500, we'll, shoot videos in which we say nicer things about your game, whatever. And a lot of people who are defending Quackalope said that, oh, it's not extortion, it's not blackmail. People like me would say that when you are extorting someone, you're not going to be like, hey, this is me extorting you. People need to learn to read between the lines. They need to learn to make inferences. And I would say, as an attorney, if I were reading that, I would probably think like, yeah, that seems like extortion to me, like if you're reading between the lines, but whatever. I'm not going to be talking much about that. So the reason that I am bringing up Quackalope is because when all of that was going on, I received so many private messages from people and public messages too, basically being like, hey, karmic justice finally is here, and Quackalope is getting what he deserves because, so going back to 2021, when he and I were friends, we went to Universal Studios together. So this was almost a year after the pandemic had started. I was going down to Florida to help my little sister move there. So she was moving there for medical school, and I needed to help her like find a place to live and help her to move there and do all of this stuff. So I was like, hey, if I'm already going down to Florida to help my sister because she needed me, no one else in my family was able to help her, then I want to at least have some fun since I'm spending money to go down there and help her with this stuff. So I had mentioned to Jesse, Jan, and Alex, who I was friends with at that time. I'm still friends with, I'm still on good terms with Jan and Alex. So I had mentioned to them that I'm going to Florida and, I'm thinking of going to Universal Studios. And Jesse mentioned like, hey, I'll join you there. So I was like, okay, sure. So we met up at Universal Studios and went there together since I wanted to do something fun on my trip. And while we were at Universal Studios, which, again, the park had so many precautions in place, we were sanitizing everywhere. The park was like so empty. But at one point we took off our masks to take a photo of us drinking butterbeer, like away from any humans. So we posted those pictures on social media. I got bullied like nonstop for that, bullied and harassed. Like I had people coming after me, basically calling me a murderer, telling me that like I'm just the worst person ever. And it also happened to be January 6th. So I had people like 3-minute board games being like, oh, how tone deaf for you to be at Universal Studios on January 6th. It's like, are you really that stupid? Like, am I a fortune teller? Like, am I someone who knew what was going to happen on this day, that Congress, like, you know, that all these people were going to go to Washington, D.C. and try to take over, and that there was going to be an attempted coup? Like, I am not a fortune teller. There's no possible way for me to have known that that was going to happen. But so many people were like, how inappropriate for you to be at a, you know, at a park when this is happening in your country. Had no idea that that was happening because I was at a park enjoying myself, could not, you know, foresee the future and find out that this was going to happen. Like, just no way for me to know that that was going to happen on the same day. But you had people coming at me for that, for being at a park on January 6th, and then also for being at a park like almost a year after the pandemic started and taking off my mask for a picture. So I was getting bullied left and right on Twitter. So while I was getting bullied and losing countless followers for this and just being harassed and just having so many people come at me on Twitter and just say really horrible things to me, and I'm an attorney, so obviously I'm going to defend myself. Like, if someone is attacking me and they're not justified in what they're saying, obviously I'm going to defend myself, which I did. So during this time, Quackalope, Jesse, reached out to Francis and Anthony of AntLab Games and was basically like, hey, Sarah is getting hammered on Twitter. Can you guys, like, you know, reach out to her and just, you know, be there for her? Because he didn't want to be there for me. So he wanted to distance himself from me so that so that he would not lose any followers, so that he wouldn't be associated with me in any way. So he just completely dropped me as a friend. He just like basically ghosted me as a friend. Like, in the group chat, he stopped like communicating, he like stopped talking to me. You know, it was just like just dropping me as a friend completely. And in fact, he was going on panels at that time with people who were bullying and harassing me. Like, he just wanted to have nothing to do with me. So that is the kind of person that Jesse is. So he recently did a live stream because he wanted to address what had happened with, I don't even know the publisher's name because I don't play those games, but like that publisher and that extortion claim and all of that stuff. So he wanted to address everything that happened. And I guess someone during the live stream asked him about me because my name had been coming up here and there. And yes, I was pretty happy that Jesse was losing subscribers because, like many people were saying, it was like karmic justice. Like, at the time when I was losing so many subscribers and he dumped me as a friend to save his channel, I was the one who was being hammered everywhere. Like, he was getting no lash, like no, what's the word? Like, no one was like bothering him about it. It was just all me, even though we were at the park together, which made no sense. So anyway, so I was the one who was just getting like, you know, just hammered left and right by people, bullied left and right and stuff. So is hammered the right word? I don't know. so anyway, so people messaged me when Jesse was losing all these subscribers for what happened recently, and they're like, oh, you must be happy. And yeah, I was happy because it did feel like karmic justice. It was like, wow, yes, finally, like, karma came through for me, and Jesse is getting a little bit of payback. Like, you know, when I was getting bullied left and right and having people say awful things to me, Jesse was not there for me. Like, we were friends up until that point, but was he there for me? No. Just completely dumped me as a friend, did not care about what was happening to me, did not message me to see if I was okay, like, wouldn't call me, nothing. Just completely dumped me as a friend. And so he said on the live stream that, oh, people can make their own judgments about Sarah. Like, he didn't even acknowledge what he did on the live stream. He would not acknowledge that he was a terrible friend, which he was, like just a really shitty friend, and that he just dumped me as a friend to save his own business and would not like even stand up for me or anything when I was getting bullied, and instead went on panels with the people who were bullying me. So yeah, of course he's not going to admit to being a really shitty friend, which he was. And instead he said something along the lines of like, oh, Sarah, if you see, you know, the stuff she's been involved in the community, people can make their own judgments. What he's referring to is something that happened many months later and had nothing to do with him. So he is deflecting from what he did. He is deflecting from having been a really shitty friend and is trying to say that I am just a terrible person, and obviously people should look at other things that maybe I have been involved in, other controversies, and then decide on that based on whether or not Jesse was in the right or wrong. No, like, these are two completely separate incidences. Like, incidents. You cannot say that what happened with Burnt Island Games has anything to do with what Jesse did when we were friends and how he just completely abandoned me as a friend. It has nothing to do with that. That happened many months after Jesse had already dumped me as a friend. And furthermore, now that Jesse is an Orthodox Jewish person, obviously it seems like he is going to then, you know, side with Burnt Island Games and, you know, not be pro-Palestinian or not care about what's happening to the Palestinians. I'll link all the videos in which I've talked about these things previously so that you can maybe catch up on what exactly happened if you want to, but those are two completely different things, and Jesse being a shitty friend has nothing to do with what happened later with Burnt Island Games. So yes, Jesse, you were an absolutely shitty friend, and I'm sorry, but I think the fact that neither Jan nor Alex are friends with you anymore also speaks for itself. So if you want to try to say that, you know, what happened with Burnt Island Games is a reflection of my character, like, where are your friends Jan and Alex now? So yeah, so I think that speaks for itself, to be quite honest. So yeah, so that is setting the record straight. So I do think Jesse, you know, deserved to lose the followers he has. If I were to speak from my own personal experiences based on what I went through, you know, I do think he is someone who places money first, like money is what matters to him most, and people come second. So, you know, I think he can go on and on about how his community really matters to him, how he loves people, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But I think when it comes down to it, business is what matters most to him, and making money is what matters most to him. And I feel like I learned that the hard way, and I'm glad more and more people are starting to see that as well. So yeah, so that is what happened. And if he doesn't want to be truthful about it, then whatever, I don't care. Like, just go on lying about it. Like, you know, the truth always comes out, and karma always catches up with people. And it did with Jesse. So he lost a lot of subscribers. I think he lost like 5,000 subscribers or something like that. So yeah, so I hope that people see that, you know, he is someone whose opinions can obviously be bought. And I hope that, you know, people are wiser when it comes to choosing their content. I will say that I stopped watching any Quackalope content once Jan left the channel, because I would say Jan is the one who brought all the charisma and charm to the channel anyway. So once he was gone, it was like I had no desire whatsoever to watch the channel. So I was even watching it even after Jesse abandoned me as a friend, because Jan was still on the channel and I still enjoyed watching, you know, him talk about games. But once he was gone, it was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm just totally done with this channel, and I just cannot be bothered to listen to Jesse just talk over people all the time, interrupt them, act like his opinion is the only opinion that matters. Like, no, just had no interest in his channel whatsoever after that. So yeah. So anyway, people can, you know, I'm going to link the videos from before where I talked about what happened, and people can make their own judgments. But Jesse was definitely trying to deflect in his live stream. He did not address what happened between us at all. He just basically said, oh, just look at, you know, Sarah and the controversy she's been involved in and make your own judgments. Nope, you just totally deflected and did not acknowledge what you did and how you were an incredibly shitty friend. So yeah, so I'm just setting the record straight here. So that is what happened. So hopefully I will never have to waste my breath on talking about that person ever again. So moving on. So let's move on to the question of the week. So as I've mentioned, I've played Zuli now 5 times. I am really enjoying Zuli. It is like Sushi Go, but much better than Sushi Go in my opinion. And of course it has cute animals in it, so how can I not love it? Obviously I'd rather play a game with cute animals in it than sushi and like different like food items. So I wanted to know, have you ever played a game so much that you loved at first but you grew sick of it because you played it so many times? If so, which game? And if not, do you think it is possible that that could happen to you? It's happened to me once before. So I really enjoy this game called Citadels by Bruno Feduti. Oh no, is it Bruno Feduti? Yeah, I think it is. I think that's the designer. So I really loved Citadels and played it a number of times. And then my little sister, I taught it to her, and it was the only game she ever wanted to play. All she wanted to play was Citadels, and I just grew so sick of it. And I was like, I never want to see this game ever again. So I'm like, should I take a break from Zuli? Like, I'm really enjoying Zuli, and I feel like I'm pretty good at it now. So I've won like the last couple of games I've played, but I'm like, maybe I should take a break from it because I don't want to grow sick of it. I actually really, really love Zuli. So maybe I should take a break from from it. I don't think I should play a game so much that I grow sick of it, but it happened to me before and I don't want it to happen again with Zuli. So let me know if it's ever happened to you and with which game. And I will be back next week and hopefully show you the rest of my UKGE haul if it arrives, and I will of course show you other games that I play. So until then, bye.